It was time to make the split from Great Britain official. After the initial battles of the war, the Second Continental Congress convened in May of 1775 in Philadelphia to call for an official separation from Britain. A committee, including Thomas Jefferson, was selected to write a draft of all the reasons the colonists wanted complete separation from Britain. Jefferson was chosen by a congressional vote to draft the document. A new country was about to be born. Thomas Jefferson was the unanimous choice to draft the document that would become the birth certificate of the United States, the Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Franklin and John Adams aided Jefferson with Declaration revisions. The document clearly listed colonists' rights and their grievances against King George III. Many of the phrases that Jefferson included in the Declaration of Independence came from the works of the British political philosopher John Locke. Several of the Declaration's quotes are well known by most Americans even today. Some, edited to match today's punctuation rules, include, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." John Hancock, as the president of the Second Continental Congress, wanted the king to know he meant business. He signed the Declaration in very large letters to send a message to King George III, signing in large print so King George could read it without his glasses. Any colonist whose signature appeared on the document and who was apprehended by British soldiers or officials would be hanged in public as a warning to other colonists. This possible horrible death was worth the risk to the men who signed the Declaration of Independence. In the words attributed to Benjamin Franklin, "We must all now hang together, or most assuredly we will all hang separately." When teams were divided up to pick sides in the battle, American colonists were split. One-third were for the Revolution. They called themselves Patriots. One-third, who named themselves Loyalists, were against it. One-third apparently didn't care to choose sides. When it was all said and done, two major groups of the war emerged. The first lineup included the Patriots fighting against King George III. The second group were the Loyalists, teamed up with the King's Redcoats, called Lobsterbacks, fighting against the Patriots. Signing the Declaration of Independence wasn't a task for the weak or fragile. Many of the men were opening themselves and their families up to great suffering and tribulation. It is interesting to note what happened to some of them. 5 were captured by the British Army, approximately 12 had their homes ransacked and burned, 1 lost his son in the Continental Army, and several suffered wounds in various battles during the Revolutionary War. Many historians consider the Revolutionary War to be a civil war. Families were divided and fought on opposite sides. The British had one of the most powerful armies in the world at this time. The men who served in the British Army of North America were well disciplined with state-of-the-art weapons. They were also well trained, well disciplined, and strong. They endured daily drilling, which included maneuvers with heavy weapons. One Brown Bess rifle and bayonet weighed about 11 pounds 4 ounces. Their navy was also world-renowned for its strength in artillery, speed of their warships, and training of their men. American soldiers may not have had all the high-tech toys and creature comforts that the British did, but they had one advantage. The American soldiers were known for their superior rifle technology and sharp shooting skills, even back then. The British Brown Bess rifle was not as accurate as the American Pennsylvania and Kentucky rifles. The British also carried 3 days' provisions, so their gear weighed about 100 pounds. Therefore, although the Americans were outnumbered by the British Army and Navy and had fewer weapons, they were quicker, had better guns, were excellent shots, and had great strength and endurance. The Americans were truly rebels in all sense of the word. The American army knew the lay of the land, useful for guerrilla warfare. Most carried tomahawks, not bayonets, which were unwieldy and the heavily wooded areas. The tomahawks and short-blade swords were much more useful during battles in tight quarters than the British troops' bayonets, giving the Patriots the advantage. They didn't have time, money, or woman power to have proper uniforms hand-sewn, so they wore a combination of mix-and-match uniforms. George Washington, voted in as General Washington to lead the troops, preferred brown army clothing. It seems like the British had an unfair advantage over the Americans. They had ample experience in world affairs, as previously mentioned. They were well equipped, highly disciplined, and had the world's strongest navy. But the Americans proved to be a different opponent than traditional armies worldwide. The American underdogs weren't out of the competition. Americans were especially blessed with accuracy in shooting rifles. They had local knowledge of the land and Native American weapons and tactics. From the Native Americans, they learned how to use the tomahawk and guerrilla warfare strategies. Finally, the Americans had a superb military command with General Washington.